I'm Chad from Chad DIY, and today we are doing a 1-month follow-up to this Longer LK5 Pro 3D printer. Now, my previous review video, we kind of went through all the features, kind of tested it out, but with any 3D printer, it's hard to really know how it's going to react when you first get it. Every 3D printer is kind of unique in its own way. You want to really dial in the settings that you're going to use, and so I had a first kind of few initial tests. But this is kind of my follow-up review after really using this thing for over a month now. So what drew me to this machine initially was really the price you pay for the size you can print. Now, most of my really all of my 3D printers in the past have been on the smaller side. This is really stepping up the game, so you can really do some huge prints like that. So that was definitely the initial intrigue of this machine, is to see just how big I could print. Now, one of the first prints I did do on my past video was this Eiffel Tower, which turned out pretty good, but one of the big issues I was having is maybe like a stringiness effect. I'm not sure the exact term for it, but the detail just wasn't as crisp, and when you're going through these bigger gaps, you're getting a lot of stringing behind. So that definitely was an issue early on. So as I was working through all those issues in Cured, adjusting settings, I was going for temperature, just kind of reading the forums, everything I could do, still kind of having that issue. And I was trying this blue filament that I got, and what I ended up doing is I switched to a gray, it's Overture brand, kind of switching the filaments, and that made all the difference. So really what I found, and this is really the first time I've ever had this issue in 3D printing, I know a lot of people have had this issue before, is I think you just kind of get a bad batch of filament. Now, I don't think it was a humidity issue or anything. It was freshly sealed filament that I was using or started using, and then when I switched over to some gray Overture, that had just been sitting out, so that wasn't sealed or anything. So just a tip, if you're having some of those issues, it might be a good idea just to maybe switch filament brands or try some different stuff, because that can really kind of throw off where you're trying to focus on what the printer is doing, and really it's just the filament side, which is really easy fix. You know, you kind of maybe waste some money on that one spool of filament, but at least you know that your printer is getting dialed in. So once I felt really comfortable with having this Longer all dialed in, I wanted to do kind of one of my bigger prints. So I went with this really cool Thingiverse file. It's kind of just this tower. Now I wanted to do, I think I wanted about 15% infill. So I didn't want to do a huge infill. I kind of wanted to see how the supports and everything worked and how that turned out. And I'll give you some close-ups of the print quality of this. But the print quality in my mind is just fantastic. Now I'm worked with a lot of other 3D printers, and this has been by far the best print quality I've gotten. Now maybe it's just I got those settings fine-tuned in Cura, I'm not sure, but really, really happy with the print quality. Now, one of the biggest things is not only the size of the print quality, how smooth they turned out, but also the top layer of the print. All right, so top layer of print quality. Now, I sell a lot of jigs and other items on my Etsy store, so it's not, most of these are just functional items by people. They're like laser cutting jigs or whatever, so they're functional. They might, you know, the appearance of them might not be super important to how they work, but I do like to have a nice, clean product that I'm sending out. And so the top print quality, I won't really call them issues, but you can definitely see the lines on some of these jigs I made with some of my other printers. Now, like I said, they're still completely functional. It doesn't really matter. But then when I started using this Longer, the LK5 Pro, I was just amazed. Like, so I'll zoom in, I'll get a shot of, this is a little trash can, I guess, that I tried printing. And so the top layer, which is on the bottom there, just turned out incredible. It's, you know, all the lines kind of blend together. And especially in this black, I feel like for some reason the black filament kind of shows the lines a little bit more clearly. So I don't know, I'm just really pleased with how the top, not only the size, because a lot of times you get focused on that side quality if you see the lines or the layers, if there are any layer shifting. But to have the top turn out so well, really pleased with the quality on that. Now, another aspect of this 3D printer that I really enjoyed is that glass bed. Now, I'm a big glass bed fan. That's what I always use. Now, my normal technique has always just been pure glass, spray a little, I think Aquanet hairspray on, and really have good results with the prints holding when they're supposed to hold when the bed is heated, but also releasing quite easily once it's not heated. So that can sometimes be an issue where if they stick on too well, you're almost putting them in a freezer where you're trying to get those temperatures to on stick where you're not ruining the print. Well, so I just assumed I was going to kind of do that same thing with this glass bed. Now it's two-sided. So I'm using the top, there's like a top textured side. So I thought I'd just try that out first. I never really used a textured glass before. Now what I've found is not only do I not have to use hairspray anymore, it sticks amazingly well. It pops off cleanly after. But another kind of nice thing about it is the finished product, I guess, on the bottom side. Now a lot of times the bottom of a print doesn't really matter too much. But normally my routine with the pure glass bed and the hairspray, you definitely get a lot of shininess. You get a little texture with that hairspray too. And usually, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but the main thing is it just really doesn't match the rest of the 3D print. It's very obvious, okay, that's very different than the sides and the top. But now with this textured glass bed, it blends really nicely with the rest of the texture of a 3D printed item. So now it's not so obvious. I mean, you still probably know, okay, this was the bottom of the bed, that's how it printed, but it's not nearly as obvious to say, oh, this is definitely different than the sides or the top or whatever. So becoming a huge fan of that textured glass bed. I know there's a lot of different beds out there. I also, for a 3D printer like this where you're kind of manually leveling between prints, it's, from what I found, it's held its level very nicely. I've had to do a little tweaking here and there between prints, but the thing about, for me, a bigger 3D printer like that, I'm definitely using these mostly for bigger prints. You can use them for tiny prints, it doesn't really matter, but this is the guy I'm going to go to when I really want to do a day, 2-day prints or even longer. And so really the time, if you need to adjust that a little bit for a minute right when the print's starting, it's not a huge time killer. So that manual bed hasn't been an issue, but it's been really solid as far as the springs holding and not where every print you're adjusting it by any means. Now another feature of this printer I've really enjoyed is this touchscreen panel. Now I think some 3D printers can get almost overcomplicated with their control panel, how you're just setting up prints, how you're, say, heating up the hot end there to put new filament in. Well, this panel for me has been super straightforward, really easy to use, and really for the most part, 99% of the time, you're kind of doing a few functions. You're getting a print going, so it's really easy to kind of go through your file and choose what you want to print, or possibly changing out the filament. So you're heating up that hot end to do that. So just those basic features that are going to be, the vast majority of your time on this panel. Really simple to use. I've had zero issue with that. They're not overcomplicated, so really straightforward with those. All right, so I do have one minor gripe on this machine, and it's really, I guess, not the machine itself, but it's this little micro SD card. Now, I know this isn't unique just to this 3D printer. A lot of machines just use this micro SD card. I don't know why. I wish it was just a regular SD card, because right now, to transfer, like from my laptop, I put this in a little USB stick that was provided to transfer it, stick in the USB stick. I just wish it was just a regular SD card, which most laptops already have that port. Also the location of it, so it's on the back right of the machine here. Now, I would have loved to have it on the front. I know you can get an adapter, that'll probably do, going for an adapter, you can do micro SD to regular SD, and it's got a cable, so I'll probably do that adapter. I probably even 3D print a little thing, so I can just plug in my file up front there instead of the back of the machine. So kind of a minor gripe, it's not a huge deal, but to me, I would just love to have just an SD slot right in the front there, SD card slot for transferring files, making that a lot easier. But you deal with it, but just want to make people aware that just plan for that back right of the machine. So overall, I've been loving this Longer LK5 Pro machine. Is basically all I've been using this past month. I really wanted to test it out. see how it performed, what it can and cannot do, and really impressed. Love that print quality, really easy to use. So I really highly recommend this this printer. So if you're interested in buying this, I will provide an affiliate link for it. You can use that link. It'll have the cheapest price. I'll get a little kickback, so it helps the channel. You'll get the best price, so it's kind of a win-win. So really appreciate when you use those links. So with all that being said, if you have any questions, you can always leave them in that comment section below. And I'm Chad from Chad DIY, and we'll see you on the next one.